We're sort of closing in on our time together, so go ahead.
I just wanted to go over what I feel is when it comes to advocacy, to what is important. On the Facebook page for Closing the Gap, you will see a picture of stools, because with support and the way that mental illness is, you need 3 legs. 3 legs. You have to, 1, be compliant yourself. 2, you need a good psychiatrist and psychotherapy. And then the 3rd is your family and your friends. And if any of those 3 legs get knocked out, somebody's mental health can go down. It's very, very important to have a support system, the right doctor, and be compliant.
That's great. So other thoughts from the panel, or if the audience has some thoughts of their own? Very good. Go ahead and just project your voice.
Are there any supports or initiatives to or from businesses or employers within the community that would address this issue as well?
So the question is more around how businesses in the community are helping address the issue. And I don't know, I'm certainly not qualified to speak to that, but is there any thoughts on the panel on that regard? Yes, please. I get it. There we go.
The EDC, the Economic Development Council, has put this on their One Voice platform, if you will, as something that they recognize is something that needs to be a large project which needs to be addressed in the community. That's not an individual business, but it's an organization which is tied to business because their role is to develop McLean County economically, get businesses in here, and they recognize that having a good support system for people with illnesses like this is something that's going to make the community better. It's going to make it better to get businesses to be recruited to McLean County if we've got that. It makes it a better place, more attractive to any employers.
Oh yes, over here. One more point, and then I have an idea for a next step for you. Go ahead.
I'm Barb Hennigan. I'm one of the family education teachers for the NAMI program, Family to Family. And one of the advocacy issues that came through the state office of NAMI was a program called Individual Placement Support. And you were talking earlier about when people come out of graduation for recovery court and they have nowhere to go, who will hire them? This is a program that NAMI developed to attack the stigma. A person with a mental illness presents themselves to the social services. It is a funded program through the state. In that area that they are interested in is where the social service worker will place them. In other words, you may have a very high IQ. They're not going to send you to McDonald's because actually some people with mental illness would be very challenged at that fast-paced, busy job. So what I'm trying to say is this job will be suited to the person with the illness. The idea is to work with the employer and to work with the patient that has illness. And then together they maintain their job, they maintain their status in the community, and the stigma falls away. The contact for this it came out of Dartmouth University. The contact for this program, it's called IPS, Individual Placement Support, and you would contact Laura Thomas at the State of Illinois NAMI.
Thank you very much for that. So here's one more question, and then here's what I'd like to do. This has been sort of a structured conversation with each other, and we're going to save a little time here on the agenda just to mingle and try to get better acquainted on some of these things. You might have some people on the panel you'd like to talk to and so on. So let's just have one more and then we'll do that. Go ahead.
Sure, I think it's been a terrific conversation, and in reading through the action plan that the county put together, it's an excellent document, has lots of good stuff in it. We've talked about a couple of things today, one being the psychiatric access. The plan actually says, and
in that area. So 7 full-time equipped, so that's the plan. Okay.
And the plan also says that we're going to go from 84 to 180 beds of housing for the mentally ill in different forms of housing. So we've heard about housing again today. So for me, one of the big goals for this conversation is how can we help the county set priorities on what to work on. It sounds like we've heard two things today, and that is the access to psychiatric services.
Yes.
And then what our Julia was mentioning is that there appears to be an obstacle to zoning and other issues that would allow for tiny houses to happen.
Yes.
And if you look at it that way, the report also says there are 54 chronically homeless people. They're looking for beds for 54 chronically homeless people. So we can have over 50 tiny houses to begin to address that issue. We can't get one yet. So there's the issue. How do we begin to break down the barriers to acting on some of the things that are in the county's plan? And what is the written plan?
I think so. The county has a plan. There's been some great, we can close it off here, but the county has a plan, and you guys have identified in this forum some, I think we need to move on here, but I do want you to enjoy talking with each other in just a moment more freely. But you've already identified some big gaps, right? And maybe some areas to focus in on. So thank you for that comment. Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like you all to have a chance to visit with each other in a less formal fashion. I do think we owe applause to the panelists for their efforts going